Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance annual member meeting. It's wonderful to have so many passionate riders, volunteers, supporters joining us tonight. Whether you're tuning in from your favorite chair at home or pausing between holiday preparations, your presence here really shows your dedication to mountain biking and the outdoor opportunities that unite us all. This meeting is a celebration of what we've achieved together and an opportunity to look forward. Tonight, we're going to share the incredible work of our team. We're going to highlight key accomplishments from the past year and kick off the process of redefining our vision for the future of mountain biking in Washington. My name is Tony Hickok, and I'm the board president. As we move through the agenda, I encourage you to reflect on your role in Evergreen's success. Whether you've dug into trail work, attended an event, supported through membership, or shared your love of mountain biking with others, every action has made an impact. Thank you for being here and for being part of this thriving community. Let's get started. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. Mics are muted by default. We're going to have a Q&A section at the end, but please feel free to add questions into the chat, and our team will try to respond to those as they come up. Before we dive into the rest of the agenda for tonight, I'd like to take a moment to introduce the incredible individuals who make up Evergreen's statewide board of directors. This dedicated group brings a wealth of experiences and skills, perspectives, all united by their shared passions for mountain biking and their commitment to Evergreen's mission of creating and protecting sustainable mountain biking opportunities in Washington. Please take a moment to read the names on the screen. Our board members work behind the scenes, advising on strategy, overseeing our organization's growth, and representing the voices of our chapters and members. Their leadership and collaboration help enable Evergreen to thrive and continue making a lasting impact. I want to personally thank each board member for their dedication, leadership, and the countless hours they contribute to advancing our mission. Please join me in recognizing and appreciating the team that helps steer Evergreen towards a brighter future. It's now my great honor to introduce Eddie Espinosa, who joined Evergreen as our new executive director this past July. Eddie brings a fresh perspective and an incredible passion for mountain biking and outdoor recreation, along with years of leadership experience that make him uniquely suited to guide our organization into the future. Before introducing Eddie, I'd like to take a moment to thank two remarkable individuals who have been instrumental during this transition. First, I want to express our deep gratitude to Yvonne Krause, our outgoing executive director, for her many years of service to the mountain biking community. Under Yvonne's leadership, Evergreen experienced incredible growth, from expanding our trail networks to strengthening our statewide presence. She not only helped elevate Evergreen, but also played a key role in ensuring a smooth and thoughtful transition during this pivotal time. Yvonne's impact on mountain biking in Washington will be felt for many years to come, and we are immensely grateful for her dedication and leadership. I also want to thank Tara Mosier for stepping in as interim executive director during the search process. Tara is often the silent force behind Evergreen's success. She really makes it possible for all of our team to do what they do best. And her steady hand and commitment ensured that Evergreen continued to thrive during this transition. Tara's leadership was critical in maintaining our momentum as we prepared for this next chapter, and we are deeply thankful for her unwavering support. Eddie, we're thrilled to have you at the helm and excited about the journey ahead under your guidance. I'll pass it over to you to guide us through the rest of the evening and into the future of Evergreen.
Thanks so much, Tony. I am so happy to be here. My name's Eddie Espinosa. I am entering my sixth month at Evergreen, having started in July. I spent the last bunch of years at the American Alpine Club running programs for them at the national level. I've been a mountain biker for 30 plus years, growing up in Puyallup, Washington, and learning how to ride over at Victor Falls back in the day, which is now Tahale. I have 2 kids, live in Bothell, just north of Seattle, and have tried to get out to as many mountain bike areas as I can in the last 6 months and meet as many folks in those areas as possible. If I haven't met you yet, please, if you see me on the trail, stop and say hi. We're going to go through this next bunch of slides. We're going to be presenting a lot of information in a short amount of time. So I'm going to try to hustle through them, but give as much time as to each part as it deserves. I'm going to start with our staff. Any organization is made up of the people, which is its most important asset. And for us, our professional trail builders are the ones that you will most likely meet out on the trails. They're the leading edge of our work on our trails. They go out in all sorts of weather, braving all of our conditions. And these are the folks that bring to fruition the work our organization does. These are it's a really great crew. Take some time to check who these folks are on this slide. You can see that a few of them have been around for 10 plus years, serving the trails of the Northwest. Supporting this group is the statewide administrative staff. Tara, as Tony mentioned, was the interim exec in between Yvonne and I. I also want to thank Yvonne for her years of dedicated service. I know a lot of you know her. I have big sneakers to fill. She did amazing work and really advanced this organization to the place it is in today. I do feel honored to carry on the work that she continued. Micah is our money guy. David Fleischauer runs our trails. Matt runs all of the internal systems and is a huge help with membership. Kristen, many of you know, is our education and DI director. Catherine supports our administrative team with a lot of functions in the office that we simply couldn't do without. Liz Lunderman has been our development lead and the face of many of our events around the state. Jarrett is a community engagement coordinator in the Cascades to Sound chapter, and you will see him at events as well. Give that guy a high five. He is a new dad. He is not getting much sleep, but we are psyched to have him and looking forward to his continued work in Cascades to Sound in our state events. Brandon Lester runs our volunteer program and manages a lot of our trail schools and GIS work. Mike Westra has been around Washington mountain biking forever, knows pretty much everything about the trails if he hadn't built them himself. And Mick is our trail boss over on the east side of the mountain. We're in the middle of hiring a trail program manager for the west side and supporting David and the rest of the trail builders on this side. So look forward to having a new staff member in 2025. That's really weird to say. So a little bit of history, and we'll get to where Evergreen is today. Mountain biking was born in the hills outside of San Francisco on the slopes of Mount Tamalpais in Marin County. As it spread to other parts of the country, the need to advocate for the building and maintenance of trails for mountain biking became clear. In 1990, two local Washington bike organizations merged, Corba and the BBTC, continuing on as the BBTC, eventually being renamed in 2008 as what is now the Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance. The roots of mountain biking run pretty deep in Washington state. We were one of the first states, probably because of proximity to California, to enjoy riding bikes off of pavement. We've come a long way since then. Organizations, land managers, and government entities that were at one time adversarial are now partners in planning, construction, and community. We continue to prioritize making sure our relationships remain positive through all the work we do. Our mission and vision. Our mission is pretty simple. It's to create, maintain, and protect sustainable mountain biking opportunities in Washington. It's simple, but it does have many complex and varying interpretations. We're going to talk about that later with some of the results we got from our community survey. But this organization is representative of the community, and we strive to deliver this mission informed by what Washington riders tell us they need. We're also an organization that believes in representing those who may not have as big of a voice as others, and we happily take on the work to make riding mountain bikes welcoming to all. One thing we continually must stress is that this is done not at the expense of other work, but done to enhance and improve the experience for everyone. It isn't zero-sum effort, but rather one that benefits all riders around the state. Our vision. We deliver our mission through the elements of our vision. This is the heart of our work and serves as a constant reminder of how and why we do our work as an organization. We donate thousands of trail building and trail maintenance hours to make sure we always have stellar trails open to ride. We advocate for sustainable recreation and working with landowners and land managers to gain and retain access to trails. Teaching clinics and classes for mountain bikers of all abilities and getting more kids out riding through our summer camps and education program. Empowering the community and volunteers to get involved to help amplify our voice and our power in the work we do. And offering events and group rides to build community and connect with like-minded mountain bikers doing what we love. Where does this eventually lead us? There's a couple of really cool articles that came out that I think we should all be proud of. We deliver our mission through our vision, and as a result, we built over 40 new mountain bike trails in Washington just this year, 2 brand new trail systems. And this is just this year. One of the best mountain bike trails was a new flow trail down at Tahale. This is in addition to all of the other awards we've won over the years for the work that we've done in and around Washington forests. We have a dedicated and dynamic staff and board. This picture is from our board retreat out in Teanaway earlier this year. The statewide board or the statewide administrative staff and board of directors, we are tasked with dealing with state and federal advocacy, regional trail issues, education and accessibility, major events and development, IT and infrastructure, administrative and finance. We're very much an organization that runs off of the power of our chapters, backstopped by the work we do in our North Bend office. We manage all the business processes, including HR, IT, and tech infrastructure, and our finances. Later on, you'll hear from our chapters who really do the heart of our work. A couple of staff updates from this year. I mentioned our West Side Trail Manager, Brian Tustison. He departed from the organization. We thank him for all of his years of service and work for Evergreen. And Liz Lunderman is also on her way to Cascade Bicycle Club, running events for them. So we celebrate her new role and are sad to see her leave. We have in our organization a best-in-class professional trail planner and builder crew. This is the group that I mentioned before. And you can kind of think of this part of our organization as a standalone construction organization, skilled in the art of building durable and sustainable trails. And the reputation of Northwest trail builders are known throughout the country, if not the world. It always amazes me whenever I travel, especially for riding, I tell them where I'm from, and I bet a bunch of you have seen this too. And the response is, well, you live in the Northwest, why the heck are you coming out here? It's a testament to their ability to build world-class trails in our part of the country. They're experienced heavy equipment operators, valuable experience reading and deciphering maps and technical documents, And there really are artists who use our forests as their canvas. Volunteers are the backbone of the work we do. When you look at a Trail Forks map and it looks like a plate of colored spaghetti, our volunteers are why. It's been mind-blowing to see the response we've gotten regionally and statewide after the storms have obliterated trails, logging operations have buried them, or simply nature just trying to reclaim them. Our volunteers have come time and time again to make sure that they remain rideable and clean for our future generations. I do want to give a cyber fist bump to the Sawyers and trail crews who went out on the west side and continue to go out after this last bomb cyclone. Easily the most damage we've seen in the forest in a long, long time. So if you are one of those folks, thank you so much for your help. And I know people are riding trails now on the backs of your work. So thank you. We are involved in a lot of advocacy at Evergreen. We do most of our federal and national level work in partnership with OA Washington and our member groups. Coordinated engagements with elected staff, or elected officials and their staff. Coordinated comment letters to land managers and lawmakers. And we act as an advisory group to other nonprofits, governments, and other user groups. What we're going to be focusing on in the next year is engaging with our tribal governments with regard to recreation planning. The Department of Natural Resources and the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife are developing new recreation plans, and we're going to be part of that. We do a lot of our work on their land, and so they are really interested in how we can be helpful and how we can guide their planning on how their land is used for recreation. United States Forest Service is dealing with some pretty significant challenges with being unable to hire seasonal staff. We're going to help them plan and continue making sure that our trails on Forest Service land remains maintained, sustained, and we'll do our part to help them out. In addition to all of the regional and local trail advocacy that we do at the state office and through our chapters and volunteers. So by the numbers, we're 8 chapters statewide. We remain the single largest statewide mountain bike organization in the United States with 7,989 members. It seems we've hit a plateau over the last couple of years. One thing we're going to be leaning into next year is really taking a look at our member benefits and finding and exploring ways to get those numbers back up to the 9s and 10,000s. You know, I'm not a big believer in growing for growth's sake, but we have a lot of mountain bikers in the state, and I would love to have them be involved with our organization. 100 staff on payroll in the summer, and our 2024 peak trail builder team was 26 strong, and over 23,000 hours invested from volunteers this year. I talked about this slide earlier. One thing that you should know is whenever we do a survey, I fell this year I fell into the sort of the black hole of reading every single comment that was turned in. And we picked a few of them out, and I'm sharing them here just to illustrate the diversity of riders that we now have in our community, and sort of the challenge with being a statewide organization that advocates for e-bikes, all trail users, preserving experiences in the backcountry, flow trails versus tech trails. We got all sorts of different comments, but the takeaway from this is it's not an easy job. And if you have any comments, we're gonna read them. So please feel free to keep providing feedback. And the next survey that comes out, please respond and add as many comments as you want, because we'll be reading them. Switching gears, we are coming on the end of our strategic plan that was built in 2020. Through the end of 2025, this is a reminder for what the the current strategic plan is, including the organizational pillars or the plan's pillars listed here. Now, embedded within each one of these are a number of goals and initiatives created by the previous board and committees. We start the process of evaluating the progress of these goals and how they've shaped the organization. And we are happy to share that we've already started the process of collecting feedback from key holders, staff, and volunteers. The next year brings a pretty exciting opportunity for Evergreen to develop its next evolution through the formation of our next strategic plan. This is the timeline of what we'll be up to in the next year. We started with staff input at our staff retreat in October. We had a board retreat in Teanaway last month. And through the community survey, we got a lot of good data points and a lot of good comments that we'll be incorporating into our new strategic plan. Moving into next year, in the first part of the year, we'll be assembling focus groups. We'll be reaching out to our key partners in the recreational advocacy groups, trail organizations, our land managers that we work with, and our tribal governments. In the later part, we will start, probably midsummer, we'll start drafting it and have it ready for adoption, and we'll send it out to everyone in December. So look forward to that. It's an exciting time for the organization to really plot and guide our trajectory over the next 5 years. And with that, we move to Micah. Thanks so much. I was trying to be fast. I know I wasn't. So thank you for your patience.
Thanks, Eddie. My name is Micah Shapiro. I'm the finance director at Evergreen. And I've just got a couple slides to kind of talk about, where we are financially and kind of what we are planning in the future financially to maintain our financial health. You can go ahead and jump to the next slide, Eddie. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about where our funding comes from and what do we spend our money on. Almost 50% of our income comes from our trails program. So basically external clients paying us to build trails. We do run our trails program pretty lean though, just to maximize the amount of work we can do. So then looking at the next pieces, contribution and then membership is 30%. And really that's the most important piece of our income, because it's compared to trails, there just isn't a lot of expenses to generate that income. We're always really working hard to grow our membership. Our campaigns are really important. Our fundraising campaigns, we're in the middle of one right now. Those are really the most important pieces for us as far as financially where our income comes from. We do have an education program too, which our education director will be talking about later. That's about 13% of our income, and then a further 8% from basically events. And then what do we spend our money on? Well, trails is the biggest, and so that's paying payroll, materials, equipment rentals, anything associated with trail construction. There's also a lot of self-funded trails. Basically, a lot of our fundraising that we do is allocated to build trail projects that currently land managers don't have money to build, or we're partnering with them, and it's a joint project where they're putting up some funds and we're putting up funds that we have raised. Then 22% of our expenses is basically what you would call our overhead. So that's our administrative staff salaries, our rent, our insurance, B&O taxes, things like that. And education, and that's basically paying for the education staff. We basically, in the summer, we bring on somewhere between 50 and 75 coaches to do our summer camps. And so that's a lot of that expense. And then Marcom events. So basically that's kind of a marketing communications and also events. So I just saw someone's question there. So that also includes event expenses. So like if you attended Bike Fest, basically all the expenses that are associated with that are lumped in there. And actually that's something we're doing this year. We're breaking marketing and communications apart from events. So we'll be able to track our event spending a little better. And then you can see, contributions, advocacy, real small pieces, membership, small pieces, volunteer, small pieces. Yeah, government and grant funding, a lot of that is lumped in, if it's a government grant for trails building, that's going to be in our trails income. If it's a government grant for education or any type of grant for, education or trails, it gets put into those specific categories on this particular slide. Eddie, you can jump to the next one, please. Thank you. So this is kind of looking at our financial growth. We've had a lot of growth since 2019. You can just see that, trails has grown considerably. We peaked in 2023, and so we've dropped down a little bit in 2024, but we're still up from where we were in 2022. Same thing with contributed revenue, so that's donations and corporate sponsorships. Membership has grown, basically close to double from 2019, but it's kind of just been this slow growth. Same thing with education. And then other income, that includes event income. We also have, starting in 2024, we have been putting all our restricted funds, which are funds that we have set aside for projects that we're waiting to do. That's all in an interest-bearing account. And so now we are generating quite a bit of interest that we can use to build trails and also increase our financial health. You can go ahead and jump to the next one, Eddie. So then looking into our future, really this year is probably going to be an investment year. Right now, as I said, we're engaged in our end of year campaign, which is a big one for us. It kind of helps us balance out this year and also start 2025 off with a nice, healthy financial situation. Our goal is to grow our membership by about 10% and our contributions by about 15%. We currently have about 2.4 million in trail work scheduled. And out of that, almost $500,000 of that is money that Evergreen has that we will be putting into trails. We're continuing to invest in our education program. We're trying to grow that about 20% this year. And then we're working on some staffing adjustments to add capacity, basically just to kind of handle all the things that we have going on. So that's kind of where we are financially. And, I really want to thank everybody who donates, who joins us as a member. Your support is essential and really what keeps us rolling. So thank you for all your support. And that's all I got, Eddie.
Thanks, Micah. David, you're up.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. It's good to be presenting here. My name is David Fleischauer. I'm the statewide Trails Program Director, and I'm based out of North Bend. So go ahead and move on to the next slide there, Eddie. I'm going to continue bragging about our trail team for just a minute here. We have a lot of trail crew here, and that includes full-time, year-round folks on the west side, full-time seasonal builders on the Central, East, and Met-How chapters, and also a number of part-time folks across the state. And I can't emphasize this enough, the level of experience that our crew brings. We have a number of folks that have been here for more than 10 years, 8 of us that are at 5+. And I can't recommend it enough. Please come out to a work party or a build project and take time to learn from these professional builders. Next slide, please. Looking at the projects that we worked on this last year, you'll see that we have a pretty broad range that you'll hear more about from the chapters in a few minutes. but I have to say that it's been an incredibly productive year of construction. We have a lot of design projects that we've been working on all throughout the year that will drive future development. And then finally, our maintenance contracts. These are really the bread and butter to take care of this massive inventory of trails that we have, and also to justify the need for future development. Next slide, please. So 2024 was the year of partnerships. I think 2023 was too, and I expect 25 to be the same. But in the face of more attention on environmental and social impacts of recreation, we're finding that these relationships are the absolute key to our long-term success. We're working hard to continue this shift from being a special interest group working in the woods to being trusted partners and subject matter experts. We're presenting at the Statewide Trails Conference, and we have also presented at the International Trails Symposium. Next slide. This next year, I think you'll find a lot of consistency within the Trails program. You'll see an increased frequency of trail schools and also chainsaw certifications, so that volunteers can be more empowered to contribute on their own outside of work parties, and also, very importantly, to do so safely. Our development pipeline is very full. I won't get too deep into the details here, but there's a number of these mid-size, like 30 to 80 acre park projects. Think something like Tennant or Duthie here in the Cascades of Sound chapter, or also some very large projects more in line with like Beacon or Tiger Mountains. Ultimately, there's a lot on the way and we'll need your help. So please show up to a work party, donate in any way that you're able to. I appreciate it.
Brandon, you're up.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brandon Lester, Evergreen's statewide volunteer program manager, and I'll be updating you all on our volunteer impact for 2024. I just wanted to start off with a big thank you to all of our volunteers across the state. You help make Evergreen, our community, and sport thrive in the state of Washington. This thank you goes out to our trail volunteers and sawyers, our statewide board members, chapter councils, education volunteers, ambassadors and event coordinators, our webmaster, and many, many more. We see volunteers in every aspect about all the work we do, and it's amazing to see. Next slide, please. So this year, we saw over 23,000 volunteer hours, which is 1,500 more hours than we saw in 2023. So that was a really nice improvement to see. And more than 1,900 hours of that were dedicated to trail work. We also saw great numbers of volunteers at our annual mountain bike festival. 176 volunteers putting in over 704 hours, which was incredible to see. I think the previous year was about 400 hours of volunteer work at our bike fest. And oh, you can go back, sorry. And we saw even more hours coming in from our education program across the state this year as well. Speaking of education, we held 9 trail schools across the state this year, and we have more planned for 2025. This year, with that number, that included 1 women's trail school, BIPOC and Allies Trail School, and we even did one for one of the student cycling league teams. And yeah, as we go into 2025, we're planning to have more of those, and different levels of trail school are currently in the works. So stay tuned for that. Next slide, please. And while there's many standout volunteers from across the state that have been putting in their time into this community and our mission for years, each year we like to ask staff, trail builders, chapter and community members to nominate some of our standout volunteers of the year. These folks are recognized for their time and dedication to their chapters, trails, and community. So without further ado, I'll name who we got. So starting with Cascades to Sound, we have Alex Blanchard, Evan Wheeler, Matt Chrysler, Jim Dennison. For the Central chapter, Ray Burks and Nick Fugazi. Khaled Snatchees, Tad Nip. For the East chapter, Mike Graneman and Jared Snyder. For Kittitas chapter, Bob Bernique, Scott Gray, and Nick Newhall. For the Meadow chapter, Mallory Hirschler. Southwest, Jerry DeReuter. And then finally, West Sound, Jason Eadsness and Bradley Berry. Apologize if I pronounced any of your names wrong. Thank you all so much for all you do, and I look forward to more great work with everyone in the coming year. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon, and thanks to all of the volunteers. Congratulations to our volunteers of the year. And Kristen, you're up.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen McCune. I'm the Education Program Director and have had the pleasure of working for Evergreen for the past 5 years. Eddie, do you mind jumping to the first slide? Thank you. And our education program is mostly made up of 3 big program areas. The first is our summer dirt camps for youth. We also run skills clinics and private lessons for youth through adults, beginner through advanced. And then the third arm are our community programs. And I get to spend a couple of minutes sharing some big highlights from each of these programs with you all. So let's dive in. Next slide. So in 2024, our camp program hosted half and full day camps in Cascades to Sound, Central, and East chapters. And that's over 6 different locations. And we had about 590 campers come through our programs. And those are taught by about 40 paid seasonal staff that come on every summer to work with these kids, run through games and trail rides and skill building. And it's a blast. Next slide. And then this year in our skills clinic and private lesson program, we had over 100 classes across 5 different chapters with 800 students in those clinics and private lessons, most of which are foundational classes, are beginner and intermediate level riders, and a lot of brand new riders that are just getting started in the sport is kind of the bread and butter of those education programs. We were also able to award, yeah, this one just a little longer, awarded over $9,000 in scholarships for those camp and class programs. And we can do all of this work, give all of these scholarships because we had, as Brandon's slide showed, volunteers donating about 1,600 teaching hours this year, which is just really incredible. So a silent round of applause to all of those volunteers who are making all these incredible programs happen. All right, next slide. So the community program part of the education it's kind of my catch-all phrase for the work and the projects that fit the goal of just getting more riders from a variety of backgrounds out on the trails. So this photo is at Squilchuck State Park with a middle school in Wenatchee. And this class came about because one of the students was psyched on mountain biking and had a chance to create a passion project as part of one of his classes. So a couple of our volunteer instructors worked with him, came up with a class structure so that he could get some of his classmates into mountain biking. Another example from our community programming is our partnership with Yeti. It's the Youth Experiential Training Institute, who we've helped build out a bike fleet and mountain bike program with them. We used their bike fleet this summer at Refuge Fest, where we took 12 new BIPOC riders out on the trails in Carnation, got them psyched on riding. And then one more example that you'll continue to hear more about is our adaptive mountain biking program. started a few years ago as truly an experiment of what an intro to adaptive mountain biking class might look like, and has now grown to several really successful classes each year, integration of adaptive riders and vendors at Mountain Bike Fest, got adaptive riders as coaches. We've hosted group rides and are doing some community building. And then soon, as you'll continue to see more of, some assessed and signed trail systems across Washington. And this community program is really funded by grants, by volunteer labor, and then members and donors as well to keep all of these programs running. All right, next slide. Sorry, I messed up my slides. This is what was supposed to be up when I was chatting about the adaptive program. We can move on to the final slide. So behind all this incredible work is a team of staff and volunteers who teach programming, update curriculum, drive projects forward, and just continue to show up in whatever way the education team needs as it continues to grow. And so we're really lucky to have such a wonderful crew. If you want to get involved, a couple shameless plugs here. If you want to participate in some of our programs, our summer camp registration opens January 21st at 9 a.m. And then class registration will follow in mid-February. We also run private lessons throughout the entire year. So if you want to get out in the rain, we've got instructors who are out there coaching. And then we'll be recruiting for our volunteer instructors, as well as hiring for our summer camp staff, starting in January, right around the time when camps launch for registration. So check our website and social media and sign up for our newsletter to make sure that you're in the know when all of this goes live. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at any time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Kristen. Viveka, you are up next.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Viveka Stamolis. I also go by Viv. You've probably seen me in your inbox. I'm the marketing and communications manager. I started at Evergreen about a year ago. Next slide. So I manage all of our social media accounts statewide. We now have over 36,000 total followers across our channels. This number continues to grow steadily. We post content daily, which I'm sure you've seen. Facebook and Instagram have the highest follower count. Our social media reach has also been increasing an impressive amount since I joined Evergreen, with a 1,600% increase from the 2023 average reach. And reach, for those of you who don't know, reach is the total number of unique individuals who see a piece of content on social media. So that's essentially how many people were exposed to a post. We now have an average reach of 118,000 people per month, which is pretty awesome, getting the word out. Our email newsletters also have a very strong audience. We now have over 20,000 email subscribers, with an average 48% open rate, which is very strong. We sent 22 unique statewide newsletters in 2024. So that includes trail updates, openings, volunteer opportunities, lots of stories on the blog, our advocacy efforts, and a lot more. Can go to the next slide. So now on to our 2024 community survey. We just wrapped this up. We are still digging through a lot of data, but from our recent survey, we received over 1,000 responses. We gained a lot of valuable insights into community values and the riding experience. We saw the top focus for riders is maintaining and enhancing existing trails, followed closely by securing and protecting long-term trail access. The majority of our volunteers, about 73%, reported they feel valued, which is a fantastic indicator of our community's engagement. Brandon's work. 60% of our riders rate our trails a 5 out of 5, And the highest marks there have been for trail quality as the top, and then followed by trail quantity and trail variety. Trail accessibility was rated as mostly good. We saw community and other riders see mixed and average feedback, so something that we are looking more into. And then when we look at Evergreen's most common rider, this is the responses that we saw the majority of. This is a white male aged 46 to 55 with an annual income of over $150,000. They primarily live in the greater Seattle and surrounding area, value trail building and stewardship and advocacy efforts, and they enjoy diverse riding styles. Primarily all mountain, enduro, cross country, and backcountry were the most common responses to the types of riding that is done. Most joined as members between 2019 and 2021. That was during COVID. Not surprising with all of the uptick in bike trends during that time. So these insights will shape our priorities and engagement strategies as we continue to grow and serve our community. And like I said, we are still digging into a lot of these responses. We received hundreds and hundreds of long-form, open-ended feedback responses. Eddie and I have been digging deep into those, and we will definitely be sharing more in the future as we continue. Yeah, thank you all for sharing your feedback with us, for those of you who participated in that. Next slide. Save the date. We have our Evergreen Mountain Bike Festival coming to Raging River, June 14th through 15th, 2025. I will be your festival director. Stay tuned for more information. Want to get this on your calendars now. We had a ton of fun last year at Raging, so we are going to do it there again. And we have a ton of other community events starting in the spring. We really ramp up thanks to our amazing community engagement coordinator, Jarrett Zemer. He'll be leading a lot of those, so stay tuned on our calendar. Thank you all.
Thanks, Viv. And so let me turn my video on. That concludes our statewide staff presentations. We now go to our chapters, and I'm sure this is what a lot of you folks are waiting for. We're going to take a tour around Washington State, hear from our volunteer leaders, starting with Tony Feeney and the Central Chapter.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, you're
Hello?
good, Tony. You're good, Tony.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'm Tony Feeney, president of the Central Chapter, and our area basically includes the Wenatchee Valley, Leavenworth, and the Chelan area as well. And so first, I just want to give a shout out to our volunteers of the year, Nick Fugazi and Ray Burks. Nick led a weekly work parties to get not only hours, but work done on these trails. And he spent a lot of time out there, as well as working on the Apple Blossom Parade and a couple other events. And I don't think there was an event that we did this year that Ray Burks didn't have a part in, as well as a lot of education stuff. So really appreciate the work that those guys put in. So as far as some of the big things that we've worked on, the end of phase 3 and number 2 Canyon was a big project for us this year. So that included opening up the parking lot and closing up for finalizing the My Name is Inigo Montoya Trail as well. And that kind of allows us to end the project in phase 3 and then jump into phase 4, which is going to allow us to build 2 new trails up there and finalize that project. So that's kind of what we have going with with the Squilchuck area, or not Squilchuck, the number 2 Canyon. Another project that we did work on was the Jacobson Saddle Rock. And this was in a partnership with the CDLT. This was the Saddle Rock Traverse. Essentially took a mile-long trail, added a half-mile, and changed the steepness and the grade just to make it a more user-friendly trail that oversees the Wenatchee Valley. And just to kind of mention, that we worked with CDLT on this one. Forest Service was our major partner on the number 2 Canyon project as well. And then next slide, please. So jumping into Leavenworth, this is an area that there's always maintenance that's needed up at Ski Hill. So just continued maintenance on the Ski Hill trails that just get a ton of love and use. We were able to reinforce some berms, change some spots that were collecting moisture, and just fix overall break bumps and issues that arise from so much use. The other project that we worked on in Leavenworth was the Rattlesnake Hill project. And this is one that it's not necessarily 100% mountain bike trail, but it is a community-driven project that really you can run, hike, walk. You can put a stroller up there. It really just is this mile-long trail that is right behind all the school complexes in Leavenworth. And it gets used by multiple people, just shows the versatility of what we can do as a chapter and as a club. And even the teachers, after long winters, they use this trail not only to take their kids out for outdoor classroom activities, but they do their PE classes, the mountain biking unit and the cross-country skiing unit as well. So just another project that we worked on. And another project that we have with the GOA funds was the Nason Ridge to Merritt Lake rehab, and just took kind of that backcountry trail and were able to rehab some sections of trail that just haven't been seen in a while, and bring it back to life. And then finally, we have kind of the Sage Hills project here. This is again partnering with our great partner at the CDLT. Just 5 miles of trails, some reroutes, and just fixing up trails that have needed some attention, because just like Leavenworth, this area is a frequently used trail system in the Wenatchee Valley. So definitely able to change the grade and just make it more of an enjoyable ride overall. And so next slide, please. Some of the things that I like to close with, because this is a big part of our community, but the Kids Fest that we put on, really it kind of goes to just educating the youth. And we were able to do the Kids Mountain Bike Fest at Squilchuck State Park. We had over 65 participants, kids, racers, and well over probably 65 overall people with parents and family members attending this event. So it's grown every year that we've had it, and continues to get more participants. So we're looking forward to doing that again in 2025. And then one of the other things that we were able to do is take a kid mountain bike day, where we just were able to get some of our instructors to lead some rides at Ski Hill area. And we probably had 35 to 40 kids and family members show up there to be able to take part in that event. We had food provided and tacos, and really just a great event to get kids out in the local community and get to make use of the trails that we build. So thank you. I'll pass it on.
You want to finish? Yeah,
sure. So with what we have coming on, in number 2 Canyon, obviously, we're looking at those 2 new trails that we're working on. More maintenance, GOA funds in Leavenworth. That's always a continual process that we always are going to have to address because of the use there. Continuing on with working at Sage Hills, we have the Maiden Lane Sage Hills Trail that we're working on, and then the Coyote Canyon Lightning trails as well that we'll partner with CDLT to work on. And then we're working on, we did what was called the Waterville Community Trail a couple years ago, and it was so well received that we're going to continue to develop that trail system as well.
Great. Thanks, Tony.
You got it.
I will be presenting the Southwest chapter for those folks. I'll tell a little story. I had the great opportunity. This is down in Cowlitz, Skamania, Clark counties in the southwest corner of Washington, just north of just in the Vancouver area, and I had the great opportunity to go down to the Yakult Burn experience earlier this year. If you haven't had a chance to go to that festival, or if you haven't had a chance to ride in this area, it's probably one of the most underrated areas I think that I've been to. If you haven't, like the flagship trail there is Thrillium. It's amazing. So if you can get down there and do it, it's highly recommended. They had a couple of really good they had a couple of really significant projects that they did this year. In addition to the event, they did a Murphy's grade refresh. That's a relatively new jump line that they rehabbed and made it great. And Sixth Sense is one of the classic trails down there that it was damaged by some logging a bunch of years ago, or a few years ago, and they are currently getting it back into condition to ride again. So really psyched for them to be doing that, and they are logging a lot of volunteer hours down in that part of the state. And again, make it down there if you can. It's a really cool place to ride with really great views and really great terrain. I see that Jesse, you're up next in Kittitas.
Thanks, Eddie. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jesse Cunningham, and I'm the chapter president and program manager for the Kittitas chapter. We have a lot to celebrate here in 2024, and I'd like to just give you a quick overview of that. We've been a chapter for 10 years, and this may be our biggest year in terms of volunteer hours and the work we've accomplished. One of the main things that we accomplished this year was completing the Upper Big Sandy Trail in the Teanaway Community Forest. This is a two-way multi-use trail that serves as a crucial connector from the Teanaway to the existing community trails of Cle Elum and Roslyn. This was a huge self-funded chapter project that included hundreds of volunteer hours and also financial support from a lot of different sources, from Evergreen Give Big, from Kittitas Stewardship Fund, Suncadia Fund for Community Enhancement, as well as some local fundraisers. So it's a real community project in a lot of ways. We also worked closely with our agency and recreation partners, including WTA, Mountains to Sound Greenway, Backcountry Horsemen, to complete the phase 1 objectives of the Teanaway Trails Plan. This year, we also completed flagging the proposed corridors for the phase 2 trails, which I'll talk about in what's happening next year. Moving on to Nanum Ridge. Oh, sorry, Eddie, still on that first slide. Moving on to the Nanum Ridge trails. This year we did maintenance on over 12 miles of trails, including significant rework on Rustler, the cross-country loop, the Cook-Coleman Crest, and the Basalt Flow Trail. I also want to point out that we had over 1,100 volunteer hours this year, which may be our highest total yet, and is impressive for a chapter our size that struggles with having a small population to draw from. So thank you to everyone who pitched in and helped out this year, whether financially or by donating your time. You've all helped to make a difference in riding in our chapter. I also want to acknowledge that this year we had some large external sources of labor to help complete some of our trail project goals, and that included Northwest Youth Corps with some help in the Nanum, and the Washington Conservation Corps crews helped out with a lot of finishing work on the Upper Big Sandy Trail in the Teanaway. And we also had a summer camp group that engaged over 100 volunteers and 300 volunteer hours to help maintain trails in the Roslyn Urban Forest. So a lot of external help this year too, as well as our own chapter volunteers. Another accomplishment this year was completing a maintenance contract with the Forest Service to rehabilitate the Paris Creek Trail, which was an overgrown and unused trail in the Cle Elum Ranger District that is now clear and open for non-motorized use. This year, we again celebrated with some community work party and ride events. Look for details to come on these for this next year in June, but we have a yearly camp out in the Nanum to do trail work and hang out and camp. And we also do the Teanaway Trail Fest, which is a fundraiser for Teanaway Trails that includes some trail work, some shuttling, and hanging out at Drew Brew and having fun and socializing. So come out and see what we're up to in the Kittitas chapter next year. As always, there's a ton of behind the scenes planning and advocacy work that you don't see that helps to keep our projects rolling and to continue to improve riding opportunities here in Kittitas County, which is a good segue into what we have planned for next year. So go ahead to the next slide, Eddie. So as we move into 2025 with Nanum Ridge, we're looking at, we have partial funding to do a rebuild of the Ellensburg Blue Trail. That needs some significant work to it to bring it up to a fun and sustainable standard. We're also hoping to finish the Rustler Downhill Trail and continue work on the upper cross-country loop. A lot of that will hopefully be funded through Give Big Funds if we can make that work for next year. In the Teanaway Community Forest, you can look forward to hopefully an official opening for the Phase 1 trails that were completed this year. We're also going to start corridor clearing and potentially building on some of the priority trails for Phase 2. In Ellensburg, we have our Rotary Park Skills Park that we built in 2016, and we've done yearly maintenance on it, but I think it's ready for a major refresh. And so we're talking about plans now for what we're going to do for that, but we're looking forward to bringing that back up and actually making it better than ever this year. In addition to that, we'll be continuing our maintenance and community building that we're always trying to do within the chapter. And before I go, I just want to point out the couple of photos that I have on this slide. The bottom one is one of the highlights of my year this year was being able to host the board retreat here in the Kittitas chapter. And this was during the board retreat, the board and staff went out on a ride on the new Upper Big Sandy Trail. And this is us just pausing for a break there. Brian Crowley, chapter council member, is riding out in front, and Tony Hickok is behind, and the rest of the board and staff. The upper photo is one of our many sandstone hoodoos that we have with our unique geology in the Teanaway Community Forest. And I hope that you can all come out and check out some of these trails in the years to come. And thanks again to all the members and volunteers who support the work that we do here.
Thanks, Jesse. I agree. Teanaway is probably is a really, really fun and great riding destination as well. One of my favorite parts about this job in the state is just the variety of riding that we have going from the west side to the east side. So get out to Teanaway when you can. We're going to continue east to the east chapter, and Melinda Dupree. She has prepared a recording for us for her part.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Melinda Dupree from the Eastern Washington chapter. In the greater Spokane area, including 2 state parks, several conservation areas, city and county parks, and even a few miles in the back 40 of my alma mater, Whitworth University. Go Pirates. In 2024, our mighty 445 members volunteered over 2,200 hours. Places we worked were in Liberty Lake, completing and opening a new climbing trail, the Lower Mica Peak Trail, from the creek crossing up to the main Liberty Lake Trail. Some extensive refresh of 2 trails at Camp Sakani, Blast Off in Hollywood, and the first half of a new jump line at Beacon Hill called Upgrade. And no, my spell checker is not broken. High five to anyone who has that movie reference for that trail name. We also finalized some plans with the city of Spokane for paving the trailhead at Camp Sakani and at Shields Park with some nice improvements, including lighting, street crossings, and with any luck, some bathroom upgrades. Other plans for 2025 include at Mica Peak, we'll complete the Lower Saltese Ridge Trail. At Mount Spokane State Park, we have some great improvements and a significant refresh of Lower 290, also known as the Goods. In the Greater Beacon Hill area, we'll complete Upgrade and 3 new trails in and out of the new Minnehaha Trailhead, a refresh of Stall and Grab, and probably more trails. And very exciting to announce a new women-led and women-built jump line trail. This was led by our Biking Betties group in Spokane. We will continue our advocacy work at Beacon Hill through Conservation Futures to preserve more land there and collaborate with land managers, supporting the mountain biking community in Northeast Washington. We look forward to trail work parties and rides across Northeast Washington from the Colville National Forest into the Kettle Falls area at Kettle Fest and all the way down into our fabulous trail systems in Spokane. Thanks everyone for your support, for supporting Evergreen. Enjoy the ride.
Thanks, Melinda. Melinda is here if anyone has any questions specific to the Spokane area riding. Just know that she's available. We now magically move back west across the state to the West Sound chapter. If you haven't been paying attention to their Instagram, our friend Matt Blossom has been dropping swag all over the trails out here. Check it out. And I'll send it over to him.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Matt here from the West Sound. We've got a lot of really cool things that happened over the last year. We hit our goal of 1,400 volunteer hours. We were able to get a little bit past that. So next year we're going to try to break the 2,000 hour mark. We have a new program that we're going to talk about here in a minute with some really cool volunteers. We have a really cool new trail that we were able to open up this year. It's got a great name, Fortnite. If you know the reference, 2 weeks to what it was built in 2 weeks, start to finish. We maintain about 55 miles of trails, and we've hosted quite a few work parties this year, way more than the number 10. We have 10 that were posted on the calendar through the Evergreen website, that if you know us, we kind of fly by the seat of our pants and just throw them when we're ready to have some fun. We had a couple good windstorms, just like you guys over here in the CTS, and had to clear over 60 trees this year through the ride park at Port Gamble and 360. Have some really cool contracts renewing this year out of Port Gamble and 360 again this year. We're not going to be doing as much dirt work at 360, but just focusing a lot more on maintenance. And education this year has always been fun since the ride park took off, and 22 classes, 85 students. I think our oldest student was in the mid 70s, and our youngest student was in the early teens. And so it's just really great to see that wide range of people. Next slide, please. Looking forward to 2025 and some of the cool community events we had this year. As you all know, we hosted a really cool thing in conjunction with one of our board members, Matt Orlando and Jill Kittner. It's called Hot Laps. It's a really fun format for an enduro. If you didn't come last year, make sure you come check it out this year. It's coming back. It's the last weekend of May. It's going to be bigger and better than ever. We did start a new program. We have dubbed them the Soil Squadron for now. It's basically our super volunteer program. We have enlisted 12 locals, and they're helping us out through all the different areas from 360, Port Gamble, Paul's Boat Pump Track, the Olympic Peninsula. Our digital engagement this year has been going off the hook. We have a lot of fun with it. We did 13 of our own personal newsletters that go out through our own email address, and we had an open rate of 70%. So kudos to Ashley. She kills that for us. Absolutely slaying it. Looking forward to 2025. We have some really, really cool things we're going to talk more about later this year, but just a brief touch on it. Matt Orlando, one of our board members and a statewide board member, has personally spearheaded the McCormick Woods project. I think we finally have an inked design contract. This is going to be a new ride park. It's going to be a two-phased, 2-year project. It's going to go in the McCormick Woods right there off Highway 16. It's going to be really, really fun. We're going to continue to do stuff out at 360 and out at Port Gamble. We're going to continue to work with our local volunteers. We really want to get back out to Green Mountain and start exploring that area. So if you are unfamiliar with the area, come check it out. It's a really rugged, fun area to go explore. And just to reiterate what Eddie says, if you haven't made the adventure down to Yakult, go check that forest out as well. But thanks for everybody for all the volunteer hours you put in this year, and look forward to next.
Great, thanks, Matt. We now move east and south to the Cowlitz Natchez chapter. Tyler, you ready to go?
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. Well, we'll get the bad stuff out of the way first. Our summer took a negative turn late July. There was a wildfire that started up and shut down US Highway 12. Everything in the Rimrock Lake area was affected. It's closed for several weeks. The entire side of east side of White Pass was without power until the beginning of September. So the Cow Canyon Trail and the Titan River Trail were affected. We have not been able to get back out there yet to assess those. Cow Canyon might be a little tough, but we'll get out there next summer and see. And we still really had a decent year, though, all things considered. We still got some stuff done. Down in Yakima, things have calmed down at Rocky Top a fair amount since last year. Cowichy Canyon Conservancy has taken over management of the land that's owned by the city of Yakima. So those trails are secure and being well taken care of. And they also secured ownership of an adjacent parcel in the area. So they've been continuing their work with Single Track Alliance of Yakima, shore up the remaining network, reconnecting trails, adding them where possible. And a large portion of that network is, the former network, I should say, is still closed, but things definitely took a positive turn. So we were really happy to see some good results there. One of our new efforts that we've been focusing on this summer is trying to find a suitable location for a ride park in the Yakima Valley. We really feel that's a gap in the riding offerings. We're in the early stages of that search with some variety of land managers or land owners and governmental agencies in the area. The goal is a ride park that includes a variety of trail types and skill levels, a skills park, and possibly a small dirt pump track. Sorry. We do have some leads. We hope to have some specifics next summer that we can talk about, but we learned a lot with the experience at Rocky Top. We learned that not everybody loves bikes and bike trails as much as we do, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and speak too soon, but definitely looking forward to having some more news to share with everyone next year. Onboarding Soup Creek is moving slower than we want, but it's still moving. The Natchez Ranger District got the cultural survey done that needed to be accomplished for the NEPA process. And now the NEPA document just needs to be written so the district ranger can review it, issue a decision, and get it into public comment. Budget shortfalls and staffing shortages have really prevented the district from hiring someone for the position that would be responsible for writing that document. However, we've recently received the green light that we can self-fund, hire a contractor, and do the majority of that work. So we're hoping to get things moving along this next summer. Post fire, we still need to do some scouting on the Titan River Trail for an extension there. We're not sure how the fire changed the landscape yet, but we're optimistic that it will actually make things a little bit easier to find a good route through there. So looking forward to getting out this spring and scouting there. One of the things we really want to focus on next summer in the trail work realm is Russell Ridge, which is also known as the Wildcat Trail or the 1111. And it's in the Wildcat drainage right near Soup Creek. Really neat area in the Rimrock Lake area, incredible views of the lake. It's just one of those areas where when you're in the forest at that elevation, it's just a really unique feel. You can go on just a gravel ride on the roads up there, and it's a great time. That trail hasn't seen a lot of quality maintenance in recent years. There's the road washout that's affected access by vehicle. Some rogue elements as far as trail building and roads have been happening up there in the last several years. And so we're really trying to get out there and help the Forest Service get the place back under control, start getting the trail back to spec, really get it running well again, make future maintenance easier. It's a motorized trail, so anybody on two wheels or horse or on feet or a moto can be out there to use it. So we're really hoping this is going to be a good opportunity to collaborate with all the other user groups in the area, get some joint work happening. And we're going to focus on starting that effort by hosting a work party next spring, taking a page out of our playbook from our friends over at Transcascadia, and get a big weekend work party together. So if you're into a good week in the woods or weekend in the woods, we'll bring the food and drinks and the Sawyers. Just bring yourself and a friend. We'll get some work done out there. Over on the west side of the chapter, the Gifford Pinchot National Forest will be releasing their sustainable trail strategy soon. That'll go out for public comment, and hopefully that's going to write a new chapter in how that forest manages trails and recreation. So we're pretty proud of our work on that committee with all the other user groups. Looking forward to see where that can take things in the GP. And then our friends over at Packwood Trail Project have got some good news. We along with the Upper Cowlitz Valley Trail Coalition, which us and PTP are both part of, we had a meeting with the district ranger at the Cowlitz Valley Ranger Station last week, and that project has been somewhat stalled. We've been waiting to get into the NEPA pipeline. She doesn't have an exact date for us, but has committed to moving forward with any steps we can. So starting to look at GIS maps with the NEPA planner, trying to identify any showstoppers or things that we really need to deal with before we can fully get into that NEPA pipeline. But that's pretty exciting news because that would eventually result in a brand new trail, multi-use non-motorized trail right out of Packwood. And again, continuing to work with all our partners in the Gifford Pinchot. It's a huge landscape, more than any one of us can cover. And we're really proud of the work with the Upper Cowlitz Valley Trail Coalition. It's been pretty amazing working in a collaborative group that are bikers, hikers from WTA, the Backcountry Horsemen, Pacific Orogenesis Collective, which is trying to pursue a trail from the tip of Baja all the way to the Canadian border. So pretty exciting to have a partnership like that going on over there. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tyler. We now move north to the Methow chapter. Take it away,
Hello,
Joe.
everyone. Hello, everyone. Greetings from the snowy Methow. We're a small area tucked in the North Cascades, and happy to be here talking about what we have going on. Before I do that, though, I'm always just blown away at what is happening statewide with each of the chapters. With all the colleagues I work with, it's just amazing to see, and just a big shout out to all the work going on. It's just super impressive. I also want to do a big thank you to all of our volunteers, to our board of directors, and also something that may not seem like a big deal, but we have our professional trail crew of 4 full-time folks who actually call the Met How home, which is not an easy thing to do. And we're super proud to have that crew still with us and producing great trails. 2024 was really a banner year for us. A lot of accomplishments, a lot of things to celebrate. And then, of course, a lot of things to look forward to in 2025. So starting with Loop Loop North Summit. This is our community ski hill just to the east of the Methow and splits the Okanagan and Methow valleys. So we have a 35-mile project there. And this year we were able to build 8 miles. And that consisted of 5 trails. So the first of which was Ursus, which is a 1 mile long black techie trail, a descending trail. And then Oso Pelagroso, which is the last one we built, is a 2 mile blue rated descending trail. And then Bear With Me is a 2 mile climbing trail that goes essentially from the base of Loop Loop up to the high point. And then Buckaroo, which is essentially an all-user green rated cross-country loop that kind of goes around the base area there at Loop Loop. And then finally a short connector from the bottom of Oso Pelagroso over to the base area. And then shifting over to the other side of the valley at Sun Mountain, while we did a lot of maintenance, which I'll talk about in just a sec, we were able to complete the Climate Change, which is our main climbing trail that goes from Chickadee Trailhead to the top of Thompson Pass. We were able to finish the final 1,500 feet of one-way climbing from the base to the top. So it's exciting to get that done. Next slide, please. So by the way, the pictures you see here are all from Loop Loop new trail construction. Awesome. If you like rock and slab and just some super fun use of terrain, please do yourself a favor and visit Loop Loop. It's really fun. Our events really this year were focused on bringing people together to do trail work with us. So we do dig ride campouts each year. We usually do 2 of them. So that's a 3-day celebration that we get together, camp together, eat food, do lots of trail work. This year, the focus was on finishing Oso Pelagroso. So we had a lot of hand building with the challenges that all the rock presented us. So it was really fun having 40+ people helping us finish the hand build on that. Really a lot of fun, and we got a lot done. And then we also this year had a big focus on dig days. We've never pulled this off until this year, but we were able from early part of the year through October, we had work parties literally every other Saturday, which for us is a big deal since we don't have that many folks here. So it was great to be able to produce over 1,000 hours of volunteer hours with our dig days. We also have a big focus on maintenance, as do most chapters, with new trails being built and trails that have been around for a long time. So at Sun Mountain, we completed 20 miles of tread rehab and maintenance there, 25 miles of brushing. We don't count every tree, but we're well over 250 trees down. We stopped counting after that, but post-fire, that's something that is just a big annual focus for us and necessary to keep our trails accessible. We also tuned up Pete's Dragon, Wild Turkey. Those are sort of our hallmark descending trails at Sun Mountain. We also did a fairly substantial tune-up on Bear Mountain, which kind of sits below Loop Loop on the east side of our zone. And then we finished brushing out Blue Buck, which was our focus of our dig ride camp out last year. And next slide, please. So big plans for 2025. Again, Loop Loop North Summit is going to be our primary focus for construction. So we're going to continue with phase 2, which is the phase that we're in now. And we have another 8 miles on tap for 2025. And just as a caveat, that whole project total is about 35 miles. So it's going to be multiple phases in multiple years, but we'll connect much of what sits around the ski hill and kind of the OG single track network around it. And then shifting back to Sun Mountain, we have completed our NEPA reviews, and we have permits to do about 12 miles more of construction. That's not going to happen in 2025, but we will start on that. And then a couple other things throughout the valley that are notable. Again, we're going to do 2 dig ride campouts. One of those is going to be West Fork of the Methow, which is kind of up by the headwaters of the Methow. And then another one to be determined for later in the season. And then we've been asked to sort of redesign, reinvent Winthrop pump track. So that's going to happen here in the spring. And then kicking off a Trailhead Ambassador program on behalf of the chapter, which is basically us and volunteers going to various trailheads, explaining the work we do, who we are, how membership works, and how their support can help us be successful. So that's all I have. Thank you all and appreciate all the help.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for sharing with us your chapter's activity. Thank you for all your work out there. And now, last but certainly not least, we have Matt and Jess from the Cascades to Sound chapter.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. So yeah, we are Cascades to Sound, King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who contributed to getting to over 10,000 volunteer hours. That represents, I think it was more than 1,500 hour increase over our 2023 numbers. So some super exciting stuff on the volunteer front with more work to do in that realm. But yeah, we're excited about a lot of things, and I'll let Jessica take you through some trails and community stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Next slide, please. So a couple of trail highlights for 2024. At Raging River, we brought in a number of new trails, including Reverence, which involved 22 hours of volunteer work, involved the Dirt Church crew. The trail is a Black Diamond tech flow that offers a challenging and exciting ride. It was built by over 120 volunteers. Moving on, we have Executive Decision that was named in recognition of Miss Yvonne Krause. And then we have Ferdinand the Bull that is right next to Executive Decision, kind of going in opposite directions, offering different little tech, little flow. And then PCT is the new trail that goes up to those trails, so the climbing trail. And then we have Tenet, which is a whole new trail system in North Bend. It's offers some tech and some flow on just fun hot laps that you can do just right near the city there. And then we have Tahali. The trek at Tahali spans 204 acres of wooded slopes overlooking the Oriang Valley and the Puyallup River in unincorporated Pierce County. And then we have moving on up to the top of the mountain in the pass at the summit at Snoqualmie. We have My Little Friend, It's a blue black tech trail, bouncy house, a blue flow trail with some big fun berms and rolly jumps. And both options lead to big wood for a pretty thrilling top to bottom ride up at the bike park there. I just say that if our trails had a Yelp review, they'd be rated most likely to leave you stoked, muddy, and smiling. Next slide, please. We've had a lot of events in 2024. We had the Shovel and Shred, which is like a summer camp for the ladies. We had 2 action-packed days of trail building and shuttling, shredding. We heard from a panel of inspiring women in mountain biking, made new friends on the mountain, learning new skills in a welcoming environment, and we lucked out on the weather, which was awesome. We did the Evergreen Mountain Bike Festival, which was highlighted earlier. There was 3 new trails that were showcased that I just mentioned: Reverence, Executive Decision, Ferdinand. There were bike demos, affinity and group rides, skills clinics. The vendor expo was awesome. There were so many activities to do. My favorite, I think, was the booger scavenger hunt. There's a kids group out here that does group rides and clinics called Booger, and yeah, that was pretty fun. Sweet raffle prizes from our rad sponsors like Outdoor Research and many more. Spring Fling was a fun celebration and gathering that focused on trail work and community building, riding bikes. I was pretty into the DJ at the end too, in the parking lot. Nothing like a Raging River parking lot party. Dozens of volunteers came out to partake in the festivities, and it was just a really great day to see so much happening at Raging River and getting the trails cleaned up in just a day. Then we move on to the Duthie Jump Jam. Popular trails like the Voodoo Child, Semper Dirticus, Flying Squirrel. There's also a new women-led and built line, the GHY build, all at Duthie. So Duthie Jump Jam was an opportunity for riders to come together and showcase their skills, enjoy some camaraderie, celebrate the hard work that went into building and expanding trail access. Most recently, we had the Free Hub film screening at REI just earlier this month. We had a sold out event, standing room only. Great films were seen, really inspiring night, showcasing some awesome talent that went into about an hour's worth of films. So yes. Oh, and Take a Kid Mountain Biking Day. Thank you, Ashley. Yes, lots of kids and families came out. There was a dual slalom event. And yeah, it was really exciting to see. I especially loved the homemade pretzels that were brought out that day. So yeah, just lots of really fun events. And just a huge shout out to all the volunteers and ambassadors. We held 3 trail school events, 613 volunteers at Raging, 492 at Duthie, 16 new ambassadors, and we've got a sweet video here we're going to show you in just a minute. 7 blogs were released, 27 collab posts on social media, just really showing that engagement with our community. And yeah, a couple rebuilds at Duthie happened as well. So next up, we have a video courtesy of one of our ambassadors, Xander Kroon, and also highlights another ambassador, Miranda Smith, who is in the video and highlights the BIPOC and Allies Trail School, excuse me. So let's go ahead and let her rip.
Last summer, the Ambassador Program was created to bring brand awareness to the CTS chapter and to support our community. This program has allowed local riders to partner with Evergreen to reinforce mountain bike culture through their personal strengths. Within 6 months, the Ambassador Program has already had a positive impact. Our ambassadors have helped coordinate and co-host Bring Your Kid Mountain Biking Day at Duthie, an event that included races on the refreshed dual slalom course, timed pump track laps, and a foot down competition. To help create a sense of ownership and inclusivity in the mountain bike community, one of our ambassadors has created the BIPOC Plus Allies Trail School, a program dedicated to teaching trail building and maintenance skills to people who are underrepresented in the outdoor space. Another ambassador is leading work parties on Gravy Train to do a complete rebuild of the trail. In 3 weeks, they have already logged over 200 volunteer hours on this project. This is just a fraction of the positive impact our ambassadors have made on the community. We are so thankful for our team and can't wait to see what they accomplish next.
And I'm going to hand it back over to Matt.
All right. Also want to highlight the education program from the Cascades to Sound chapter. I'll let you read through all the awesome numbers and bits that have happened in that realm. But I really want to thank everyone involved in the education program for really picking up this year that was a bit more challenging just to get people to sign up for education programs and taking it upon themselves to do a bit more with the social media and marketing component of that. Really get people into the programs and make this program a success, as well as starting to branch out and develop new program content, and especially some of the awesome work on adaptive assessments, and then following that up with our trail crew to improve trails to the point where we were able to have some adaptive racing even at the Sturdy Dirty this year at Raging. So lots and lots of great stuff coming out of the education program in Cascades to Sound. Move to the next. So kind of highlighting the adaptive component here, I think we've made massive progress just understanding where we are from the perspective of adaptive riders, getting a collaboration with Outdoors for All and a number of adaptive riders in the region to identify where we can make minor changes to our trails or major changes to our trails to really make it possible for them to get out there, as well as honestly, in many cases, making our flow trails more flowy and fun for a lot of people. So it's really a win-win that we have seen in this realm. And yeah, super excited to see more and do more as we move forward here. And that brings us to the 2025 plan and outlook. As I mentioned, we had a large increase, over 1,500 more hours of volunteering over the past year than we had in 2023. But we absolutely want to grow and expand on that as we move forward. Cascades to Sound is a big chapter with a bunch of trail systems and a large number of people who are involved. Coordinating that and knowing what you can do, what you can't do, who to talk to about X, Y, and Z, so that we can get people any level of, I just want to have a work party that's happening most weekends, which if you look at the calendar, super excited to see that right now pretty much every weekend and many weekdays covered with work parties in the I-90 corridor and around the chapter. To people being able to take that next step and start to create a sense of responsibility and ownership and doing guided but independent work, organizing their own work parties and things of that nature. We get a non-trivial amount of that, but the path to getting to the point where you're ready for that and approved to do that and doing that in a way that contributes valuably as opposed to creating noise and controversy over changes that happens on trails is a big investment area that I think we're looking to make progress with our Trails Committee that we've established a cadence for, and am excited about the organization and fun that's happening on the trails front, as well as continuing to expand our focus on community events. So the Free Hub screening was an awesome example where we were really looking to just get people out and enjoy being together and meet the large number of people that we have that enjoy mountain biking in Washington State. So looking to do more and more of that as we move forward, which leads to kind of the big trail focus that we have in Cascades to Sound is funding and moving forward with Trail E at Raging River. So a new front side trail there that I'm super excited about the opportunity we have to sort of take a step back from some of our schedule and budget driven work that we did in phase 3 of Raging. And because we are funding this to a significant extent from chapter funds and new funds that we need to go generate, we have an opportunity to really showcase what our professional trail builders are capable of here. I'm super excited about the maps and such that I've seen and some of the flags I've seen in the woods as to what we can accomplish, as well as super excited about just the approach to building what should be a true showcase experience at Raging River that is set up to get a massive amount of traffic and give people that choice so they're riding Poppin' Tops if they want to, rather than riding Poppin' Tops because it's the only way down. So yeah, very, very excited about making that happen. As well as welcoming myself and a number of other new board members to the Cascades to Sound chapter board. So myself as president, Jessica as vice president, Adam as the treasurer, Ellie is continuing on as our secretary, and then a number of folks around the chapter as at-large members that are identified with some awesome focus areas, whether it's representing the Pierce and Snohomish areas, focusing on trails, focusing on events, and focusing on development work. So yeah, super excited. Jessica, I don't know if you have any other plan and outlook bits to add.
No, just thanks everyone. Stoked to be here.
Great. Thanks so much, Matt and Jessica. That concludes our chapters section for the presentation tonight. We are running a little bit over, but it's a good problem to have when we have so much activity in trail building and volunteering and events and community building going on in our chapters. It's hard to squeeze it in a short amount of time. We could be here all night. But we move on to questions and answers. Thanks to those who have been engaged in our chat. I see that there's been some themes going on around membership and marketing. But we are going to leave this part open to anyone who has any questions for us, for any of the staff or for any of the chapter leaders. We can do it one of two ways. You can continue asking them in the chat, or if you raise your hand, Matt will unmute you and you can ask it live in the presentation. So we'll let her rip. Okay, we're getting some questions being added to the chat. David, if you're still here, there's a question about side hustle. I'm gonna move it to you.
Hey, yeah, side hustle will be repaired. I think the first step there is that DNR is working to remove all of the trees. There are actually so many trees down that they're doing a timber sale. So a last minute auction of those trees. So they're doing that. They told us to hold off on doing any repairs in the meantime. Once those trees are out, there will be some minor reroutes that we were planning on doing already, but we'll use that as an opportunity. But I would expect side hustle to be closed for quite some time. I also see a question about building more trails in Pierce County. And yes, we are in discussions with folks about initial feasibility work of more development in Ashford. It's definitely a more extended process. Any of the starting new systems takes quite a bit more time and effort and planning than building out existing systems, but it is on the radar and something that we're working on. In 410, we're mostly focusing on maintenance. So we actually do have a maintenance contract with the Forest Service for a number of trails out that way, not Ranger Creek or Palisades, but Suntop and some others that are more broad multi-use. So maintaining those, and then maybe that's a first step to more development as well. Trail E is the new descent trail at Raging River. That'll be a front side option that's an alternate to lower Poppin' Tops and Flow State. That'll be a little bit more difficult, single track, mostly hand-built tech trail. And I see one more question here about Cross Hall, the timber sale there. There's let's see, a sale there. It'll also affect lower OTG and no TG. that's still probably at least a year and a half out from actually happening. There's another timber sale in the same area at Tiger Mountain. That's let's see, Megafauna and the Legend. That'll happen a little bit sooner, but it'll be also similarly significantly impactful. We've been on site with the DNR forestry crews at both of those sites to evaluate leave trees, that they can leave these stands of trees on switchbacks or other important areas to help with rebuilding. So DNR has been great to work with. They want us to be successful, but they still are definitely cutting those trees. And then I see a question about the Tiger Mountain parking. This is a really fun one. Actually, a city planner from the city of North Bend is got a study funded for a feasibility study on putting a tunnel underneath Highway 18. Highway 18, if you're not in the North Bend area, you have to know it's an absolute nightmare. I can see Tiger Mountain from my house. It'll take me an hour to drive there, and I can't see that far. So it's a mess. So there's actually thought about, with all the delays and new regulations that have come up since the project was initially bid, it's gotten way, way more expensive, like $1.6 billion. And actually putting in a tunnel, though very expensive, could actually end up being quite a bit less. So they're looking into some alternates right now. If everything continues as is, that lower parking lot will be completely demolished and not usable for any to any extent once they start that construction. There is a plan to expand the upper parking lot, but that's probably a little ways off. It's ultimately going to be a reduced user experience at Tiger for some time, and the options for having a separate community access trail got vetoed during the SEPA process, unfortunately. So yeah, Tiger's going to be a bit of a mess for a while, and trying to be creative and work with DOT and DNR on it, but there's just not a lot of good solutions for a group of our size, unfortunately.
I just wanted to jump to a question for Brandon, and it's asking Brandon to expand more on upcoming trail schools and opportunities for advanced classes. That question comes from Sky.
Yeah. So right now, planning on scheduling some more trail schools for next year. We'll probably have a few starting around in the Cascades of Sound chapter area, and then I'm looking to plan more in other chapters as well, like how we did in this past year. As far as the opportunities around advanced classes and stuff, like I said, it's something that we're currently in development on, but we plan to have more advanced topics beyond just basic trail maintenance, like what our current class is kind of covering. So, but keep an eye on the calendar for upcoming trail schools. Yeah.
There was a question from Ivor earlier asking about finance in regards to the government and our grant funding. And so if Micah, you could just expand on what that looks like, that would be great.
Sorry, what was the question again?
If you could elaborate on our government funding and grant funding and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we have a lot of federal funding through the U.S. Forest Service, mostly on projects in Eastern Washington, but we do have some Western Washington stuff too. The 410 maintenance that's being done down by Crystal Mountain is one of those. We also have a state level grant, which is the RC through the RCO, and it's the RTP. And that's basically for trail maintenance, both Eastern Washington and Western Washington. We also, let's see, grant-wise, we get a grant from REI for $15,000 for DEI that we'll be using for our adaptive MTB program. And I'm trying to think, what else do we have coming up? Most of our trail projects are done through, if they are something we're billing to a client, that client is usually some type of government entity, as far as a land manager. Like we've got contracts with DNR basically for Raging Tiger maintenance, contracts with King County for basically Duthie and Black Diamond maintenance. Trying to think of anything else off the top of my head. There is probably quite a few other ones, but yeah, I would say the majority of our trail contracts are through government entities. Hopefully that answers your question.
And then
questions about Crystal Mountain and the Tenant to Raging connection, and I can share about both of those. So we actually had a design contract with Crystal Mountain, let's see, a year ago, and that's been in there with the Forest Service for permitting. That's a pretty extended process in the first place, but especially at a ski area when the specialists can only be on site and on the ground without snow for a pretty abbreviated period. So that's moving along. That'll be the permission to proceed from the government, who they have a long-term lease from, but it's not necessarily funding to proceed. Because it is privately used land, just like Summit at Snoqualmie, we're not able to fundraise for that or use volunteers. So we're a little bit limited and dependent on management at Crystal Mountain, who are been very supportive, but we'll see how funding comes on that. So I'm not holding my breath, but I know everyone involved in the project, both on our side and also on the Crystal Mountain side, is really excited and really helpful for something to move forward. There's definitely a lot of local desire, but it's a lot up to the final decisions at corporate as well. Then I also saw the question about the tenant to raging connection. DNR is actually starting on this, I think fairly soon on the raging side. This is a low traverse trail that'll make access from City of North Bend to Snoqualmie Point Park, the Raging River trail system, possible on sanctioned trails. So it's actually a pretty long extent. I think it's like 14 bridges that have to be put in. And anytime you're riding on DNR land and you ride over a bridge, you should know that bridge is by far the most expensive part of the entire trail. They're very, very sturdy. They'll be there forever and ever, pretty much. So it's not only a lot of linear length, it's also really, really expensive trail. So that's been part of the delay on that. We're really excited to get Tenant connected up to Raging, though, just for general usability. So it's slowly moving along. I think ultimately this Trail E that we're building, that the lower terminus of that tees to this Tenant to Raging connection. As you descend down, eventually you'll take a left and get back to Raging. Hopefully at some point that'll be connected through and you'll be able to take a right and go into Tenant and the City of North Bend. So that's moving along. Again, it's a big project, so it'll be a little bit slower than we'd always hope, but that's kind of the way that some of these projects unfold.
that's it for questions that I've received via chat or that we've received. So if there's any other ones, please feel free to raise your hand.
Well, thanks, everyone. And as was mentioned in the chat, if you have anything that you think about later, please feel free to email us. Catherine gets those emails and she dishes it out to the rest of the staff, and we'll answer everyone that comes in. So please do that if you can think of anything. We're going to move on to end of the year campaign and funding the adventure. And I'll just say just a couple of things about this. We're a little more than halfway through our December fundraiser. This is the biggest one we do of the year, and the theme for this year is one that has a little bit of breadth and scope. And one thing that we wanted to lean into was the transformative nature of what mountain biking is to depending on who you are. For a lot of folks, mountain biking is just simply a way to get out on a weekend, ride with your friends and family, get some exercise. But for others, it's a way to really connect, find and rediscover yourself in a new life situation. We just posted a really nice story about one of our members, Mary, who discovered mountain biking after losing her husband. So check that out. Consider, if you haven't done a gift this year, please go to our website, click on the donation button, and give what is meaningful for you. The fundraising we do this month helps cover all of the things that bring our trail builders to the trail. It helps fund our work in building our community, and helps fund our work in advocacy and all the administrative burden that goes behind that. So please consider us in your giving this year. I'd like to give a special shout out to all of these folks, our industry partners and community partners, who believe in what we do, and they give generously to make sure that Washington has some of the best trails in the country. Support these folks. If you have something that you still need to get someone for Christmas, consider these brands. Your dollars supporting them passes through in their support for us. So thank you to our major supporters here. And then, like I always say, support your local bike shop. Thank you to everyone for bearing with us this evening. Thank you to all our volunteers, our chapter leaders, for sharing what you've done over the last year. We really look forward to what next year brings. Here's a list of links that you can go to find resources. The one in the middle, the project info and work parties, is going to be important. If you feel like giving back to your local community and your local trail, sign up for a work party. Help chip in. For those interested, we're always looking for new volunteer instructors to help bring in the new generation of mountain bikers to our sport. If you believe in what we're doing and you don't, and you're not already, please join us as a member. And then, of course, if you feel you need to be even more engaged, hit that donate button and give what is meaningful to you. I'm going to leave it up to Tony Hickok or anyone else in staff or any of our volunteer leaders if they have anything else to add to this presentation. I appreciate you for joining us this evening. Is there anyone else who wants to jump in?
Yeah, thanks, Eddie, and thanks for everyone for joining. 2024 has been a year of a challenge and change. It's also been a huge year of progress and promise. It's really exciting looking into 2025 to write the next chapter at Evergreen. So thanks to everyone for all the work this last year, and look forward to seeing you on the trails in 2025.